illness and substance use disorders, and advance mental wellness.
If you or someone you love needs help, you are not alone. Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
91.3 FM WBNY is proud to present Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Welcome to Democracy Now!
Award-winning investigative journalism.
Is the NRA imploding?
Providing relevant analysis that makes you think.
Secret State Department documents, including evidence of U.S. war crimes.
Fact-finding reports you will not hear elsewhere. Democracy Now! Airs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on 91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo. Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan Hare. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY.
WBNY Buffalo.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of 91.3 FM WBNY, the United Students Government at Buffalo State, or Buffalo State itself. Due to the opinionated nature of these programs, listener discretion is highly advised. If you have any questions or comments about today's program, you can give us a call at 716-878-5104.
To join Mr. Hare on today's Living for the People, dial 878-5104. That's 716-878-5104. Or go to facebook.com/91.3 WBNY and comment there. That's facebook.com/91.3 WBNY. Courtesy Breitbart.
It infuriated.
All right, here we go, Living for the People. This is L. Nathan Hare. Welcome you to our broadcast, focused on providing you insight into events shaping our national and regional world and the facts behind those events and policies that are shaping our world for the day and for tomorrow. Join us weekly on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. following Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! Program. And of course, you know that our program is live, so you can call in and join our discussion. We really hope that you will. Our number here again is 716-878-5104. That's 716-878-5104. We're welcoming back Norm McCarter. He finally got back from all of his injuries and trauma from having kids. This was not a good postcard for having kids, right? Because kids play and they leave stuff, and sometimes you bump into the stuff that they leave, and you end up, being under strain. So we'll welcome you back. No.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Hare. Good morning, sir. Good to be back, my man.
Of course, Willie has been standing up and holding up, holding the bridge up, by himself, making this thing work.
Yes,
welcome, Willie. He does the live streaming of the program. Willie H.
Welcome, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan Hare.
All right. So I know you're on the phone talking to somebody about some of the stuff that we're dealing with
that's
today.
My brother Kenneth H.
Yeah, I'm labeling this program, this segment, it's time to put Biden's best foot forward.
It's time to put Biden's best foot forward?
His best foot. All of this reacting to everything everybody else is doing and, trying to say that what people said about me wasn't true. We don't need to go down that road anymore.
You don't need that, no.
We're not even a year away from the next election. We're 11 months away from the next election.
Yes, sir.
Right. It's time to put your best foot forward. Tell people why they should vote for you.
Right.
Let them ask themselves why they should vote or not vote for Donald Trump. That's somebody else's job. With your money, you tell people why they should vote for you.
Right.
So I wanted to structure today's program around two premises. The first is why no Trump?
Why no Trump?
Why you should not vote for Trump, period.
Okay,
right?
okay.
The second is why not Biden?
Why not Biden?
Why you should vote for Biden. And if you can't vote for Biden, one of the things that I think we need to get straight in our heads, the choices you have on the table right now are Biden and Trump. Now, in your heart of hearts, if you're a Republican, you might be feeling, man, there's got to be some other Republican out here who can catch flavor and whatnot and could get the Republican body politic to vote for them, to nominate them for the presidency. But they tried that. They've had, primaries, and they've had, not primaries, but debates and so on, and they had 5 or 7 or 8 people, in the Republican Party. They put their best foot forward, and they all got knocked down. There's still a couple that are trying to run, but they're not running very fast. When you run that 440 race, the 100-yard dash, a lot of people can make the 100-yard dash. They may not be well behind, but they could be in the photograph of who finished the race, because 100 yards is not that far.
Right.
But when you run the 440, now you got to run a sprint for 440 yards. That's a different race altogether. And the ones who really can't run, you don't see them in the photograph, who was there when the first person got to the finish line. You see these other people that are way, way back.
Yes, sir.
That's what's happening with the Republican Party's, candidates to run against Donald Trump. They're way, way back. So, but that's where that is. On the Democratic side, I know that there's all these polls that come out to say that people don't want Biden, to be the nominee from the Democratic Party. But the reality is nobody has shown up that's put forth an honest effort to try to run for the nomination. Now, there's time. The primaries don't start until late January and early February. So there's time for somebody else to show up. And if somebody shows up, you can make up your mind between now and then among those people. But your real choice is not Donald Trump or what was that? What I want to say? Biden. Or Biden. Your real choice is a Democratic administration that believes in democracy.
Right.
That believes...
People that believe in democracy.
Right. That believes in the fairness of our processes. That believes in allocating resources where the resources are needed rather than allocating resources to people that already have resources, and so on, right? That's what the choices are. So I went to an article written by Sarah Posner. This was written actually for MSNBC, for their news news station, how Trump is turning an evangelical ruse into a campaign of political terror. And here's where what she's talking about. A week ago Saturday, Trump promised on his website, he calls it Truth Social, he says, "We will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government." It was cold out here today, right? "We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, the Marxists, and the fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country, and we will rout the fake news media. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House, and we will finish the job once and for all. The 2024 election is our final battle." That's what Donald Trump, I'm quoting him. Right. That's what Donald Trump actually said. When he uses the term cast out, he provokes amens from those people that are these evangelical nationalists, Christian nationalists. They say, "Yeah, that's right, Joe, Donald. That's right. We got to get rid of those fascists, those communists, those Marxists, and so on." This is a common term used by these so-called Pentecostals and charismatic Christians to describe the exorcism of demons. So he's using language that characterizes the political opposition to him as demons. Just because you're in a different political party or you oppose someone else who's running for the same office you're running for, it doesn't make your opponent a demon. It just makes your opponent your opponent.
Right.
That's all you get to be when you're an opponent is you just get to be an opponent.
Yeah, but that's what we call everybody that's opposed to us demons. Anybody that opposes ideology, the way we think is a demon.
See, but when you start calling people demon, and that gets into your chest, remember we talked about many times before the basic theorem. Mm-hmm. You become what you hear.
Right.
If you keep hearing over and over and over again, unchallenged, that Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, everybody who's a Democrat is a demon, it becomes easier for you to, in your own mind, judge these people based on thinking of them as being demonic forces,
right,
and even to accept violence committed against those people. How can it be that 6,000 people bum rushed the Capitol building of the United States saying, hang Mike Pence, where's Nancy, and so on? Right. How could that possibly be unless these people had been so transformed in their minds by people characterizing political opposition as demons, as something that comes out of hell, that they felt it was okay for them to do $60 or $70 million worth of damage to the Capitol building, for them to cause the death of 5 to 7 people, for them to wind up with something like 700 or 800 people in jail because of what went down on January 6, 2021.
Well, January 6th, the interaction that went on there was it didn't take much convincing. All Trump had to do was tell people you're going to lose your privilege if you don't do anything. That's all he had to tell them.
Yep. And so if you're a person who feels that you're a part of a class of people who should be the rulers of this country forever and nobody else should be, allowed in that class, you could be the kind of person that gets to think that the opponents are demons. So who makes up those demons?
Right.
Minorities.
Right.
Huh?
Right.
Black Americans. LGBTQ plus
community,
people.
Yeah.
I know I said that right this time, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you do a little bit too much. I don't think you have to do LGBT.
I put too many letters in there.
Yeah, the plus. I think that's too much.
You all know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah. I think everybody knows.
They demonize them.
Right.
They demonize immigrants. They demonize people that are asylum seekers. They demonize people that need housing assistance, people that need, access to primary care resources. Anybody who's, in need and doesn't have enough resources to be able to meet those needs, those people are demons because they're a threat to your money or your future money.
Right, or your future money.
Yep.
Hey, Kenny, you probably don't hear Mr. Hare. You have to go to the radio show for that. But if you could call in 716-878-5104, that's 716-878-5104. Tell us how you feel, man.
Yeah, that would be great. We'd love to hear from you.
You're a regular guy out there doing your thing, and tell us how you feel about what's going on in politics.
So we hear these conspiracy...
I'll text it to you. Go ahead.
Yep. We hear these conspiracy theories about Democrats' supposed secret communist ties that abound on the Christian right. There's a guy named David Noble who's a leading figure in developing curricula to teach evangelicals about about the supposed clash between the Christian worldview and the secular humanism and Marxism-Leninism worldview. He wrote this in 2010. He said, most Americans are totally unaware that the U.S. House of Representatives crawls with a large, well-organized assembly of socialist organizations. These organizations, he claims, quite literally comprise a socialist Red Army within the very contours of the House of Representatives. Even before Ted Cruz became a senator, he peddled the similarly laughable conspiracy that Obama learned how to be a communist at Harvard Law School because there were more self-declared communists on the Harvard faculty than there were Republicans. Now, let's just work with that statement for a minute, because this is believed by bunches of people on the right. These assertions by Ted Cruz and the Trump and the Trumpists, the followers of Trump, are laughable on their face. As Charles W. Eliot, who became president of Harvard in 1869, noted, Harvard existed to inculcate the ideals of service and stewardship. That's what Harvard's mission is.
Right.
Service and stewardship. What does being a communist have to do with that? Nothing.
Wow.
Since then, Harvard has produced 8 U.S. presidents. This is the Harvard that they're claiming is the home of the Marxists and the communists and the fascists. Harvard has produced 8 U.S. presidents. Yale has produced 5. Other elite universities have produced a disproportionate number of senators and representatives from both parties. In fact, Republicans elected to the Senate over the last decade are more likely than their Democratic counterparts to have attended Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or Stanford. Now, that source is from Robert Reich in The Guardian magazine, August of 2022. The point is, these Trumpists and these Ted Cruz type people are accusing Harvard and Yale and Princeton and Stanford and so on as being places that harbor these socialist Red Army people and so on. And when in reality, most of the people who are senators and Congress people and that are presidents over the past 40 or 50 years are people that came from the schools that they're talking about. So how can the Republicans claim that these schools produce these communists and so on when they're the ones who are the faculty in those schools? They're the ones who are the donors to those schools. They're the ones who graduated from those schools. It just gives you an idea of the hypocrisy of what's going on. Trump, do you have a caller hanging on?
Yeah, I do have a caller.
Let me grab that caller real quick. Hi, caller, are you there?
Yes, good morning. Hi, yes, I am.
I'm doing great. This is Kenny?
Yes, this is Kendall.
All right, good to hear from you. What's your thoughts about what we're talking about today?
Basically, I a lot of this stuff that you're talking about, I love it because the simple fact, people are going to debate. They're going to go back and forth. The issue at hand is, who do you really trust?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the 80s, I was a Republican. Nobody knew that.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, I was a Republican.
Now, Ken, why was you a Republican back in the 80s?
Because
Why?
the simple fact, that was all about money, man.
Money,
One thing about Republicans.
He didn't want to pay any taxes. That's what it was. He didn't want to pay any taxes.
Hey, I was about that bread. Anybody that's going to allow me to get that extra cheese, I was with it.
You know what? You know what, Ken? And when I know 2 years, I was talking to a lot of black men that had money, and that was their thing. They was like, Trump is good, man. He made me a lot of money this year, and that's all they wanted. All they wanted to hear.
Let me say something real quick. I don't even know if you guys know that. Jeff Bezos divorced his wife, right? He divorced his wife, and he gave her like $38 billion.
Ooh.
During the pandemic, she said she donated $4.4 billion to a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit. H Inc. is a nonprofit, right? I want to know who that is. After the pandemic, not only did she have $38 billion, she ended up making $8 to $10 billion more.
Wow. Yep.
Now, you gave away 4.4 to nonprofit. What nonprofit? We don't know.
Yep.
But you made $8 to $10 billion more. So she was richer 2 years later.
Yep. See,
if
because
that don't make you go, wait a minute, I might need to be Republican.
Right.
But somehow or another, during a hard time, they make money.
Well, see, what they did, though, you got to understand what Trump did when Trump was president. His first and only really big thing that he did was to pass the 2017 tax cut, which he called a Job Creation Act. But what it did is it lowered corporate taxes from 35% down to, I believe it was 21%, a 41% drop in the corporate tax rate. So if you were a rich person, let's suppose, to make it the numbers easy, let's suppose that you made $100,000 in a year. If you had to pay a 35% tax rate, you'd have to pay $35,000 of that $100,000 to the federal government. But if you drop that rate to 21%, instead of paying $35,000, you only pay $21,000. You put $14,000 back in your pocket that used to go to somebody else, to Uncle Sam the previous year. So you feel good about that.
Yeah,
but
man.
What I'm talking about is there are something in the area of 70% of the population of children in this country who have food insecurity at some point in the course of every single week. in a country that makes $33 trillion a year, we have 70% of our children face hunger every single week. Now, the programs that they set up to deal with that, the Women and Infant and Children's Program, the WIC program, that program has provided a floor so that no matter how poor you are, you don't fall below that or below that floor. And so there's a way for you to ensure that your children and the children's mothers are able to eat every day. That's what that program does. Guess who the Republicans are attacking this year? This is the evangelical Christian, I'm a lover of Christ.
Faith base, all that.
Right. Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, right? This is his game. And the first thing he put on the table was a 31% cut in the women and infant and children's program.
Yeah.
That's the first thing he put on the table. That's who you're talking about when you're talking about electing Donald Trump. So that's what I need for people to understand. It's not just a choice between an old guy and a not so old guy or almost old. No, Donald Trump is old too. He's 77. That's old.
That's 77. No.
That's old. So it's a choice between one old guy and another old guy.
Another old guy. the good old boys club, right?
Yep. But the real choice is the one old guy is really championing, I'm going to ensure that me and my class of people, my section of people, I'm just going to be blunt, white evangelical Christians, that they're going to always be in control of the United States. No matter how many brown people and yellow people and red people and black people they let into this country and how many LGBTQ, whatever the right letters are, will give you the right letters? However many of those people there are, we white evangelical Christians will be in control of this country. That's what Donald Trump is selling. That's what that white evangelical community is buying. And that's where the tension is in this country right now. So those people that are running around here with these esoteric thoughts, well, when Donald Trump was president, I kept more of my money in my pocket. Well, that may be. But what Donald Trump also left you with was a recession. He left you with a million people dying from COVID-19, right? He left you with the housing market so bankrupt that we had literally 3 million people without housing at all, 22 million people who were way behind on their rent or their mortgages and so on. I mean, we had buildings, we had roads that have not been repaired. And as I tell Willie all the time, because I whine about this because it just grates on my soul. In Minnesota, this was back in the late 2000s, there was a bridge in Minnesota that fell with 69 cars on the bridge. And it fell because it had not been repaired in 82 years. That's what happens when you put people like Donald Trump in charge. They don't want to pay taxes. So if you don't pay taxes, who pays for the repair of the roads?
Right, to pay the roads, right. Absolutely.
Do you want to be driving over the Grand Island Bridge and have that thing start to wave while you on it?
Wave in you're right. You're absolutely right. But you know what? The funny thing, and staying with that segue right there, is that's the reason why when Obama put in the money for the infrastructure, the roads and the highway and all the bridges and tunnels, and one of the things that he said that resonate with me to this day is one thing about construction. The construction workers go to work. They bring home the money. They give it to their wives. Their wives go into the stores, buy more food, buy clothes. They keep the economy alive. So as long as you got these guys working, we're going to have all this great economics. And right now, don't you see more roads and more highways and more bridges and tunnels being done?
The only issue I have is, they create a lot of jobs, but I need for some of those black and brown and yellow and red, and low income and LGBTQ people, I need for them to get some of them jobs too. And that's
our fault. That's our fault, though, bro, because we got to go out there and fight and say, listen, you're in my community fixing up things, but why nobody that look like me are getting those jobs?
And what's wrong with learning how to read? And learning how to count. How in the world can you live in the United States and be 21 years old and you can't read when they pay for it for free?
And
everybody in the country, every single person in this country who gets born, everyone is guaranteed a second education up to the secondary degree level.
Right.
Is that's paid for free. You know, by the public. How in the world how can you not be able to read? What is wrong with you?
Hey guys, let me be devil advocate for a moment. I heard Mr. Hare and Kenny, you was agreeing with it, but about Trump being in. But I got to say, when Trump was in the hood in my community in Buffalo, New York, that tax cuts was bad. We all know that was bad. But there was people in my community that didn't have cars.
Yeah.
That right after that money went out, there was people with 2 cars.
You know what he's talking about?
He's talking about that stimulus money.
That's right. When that pandemic went down.
A lot of young black people hey.
And them scams that was going on.
Exactly.
Getting bread that didn't belong.
Yeah, that's true.
Keep talking, Will.
Right.
Keep talking.
Yeah,
No. And you know, you hear some young celebrities like, well, I don't know about what y'all talking about, but Trump, there was money and I was able to do some stuff. And,
yeah.
So you could talk all that you want to, but there was more money in my pocket and more things I was able to do.
It was only money for that day, though.
Yeah, I know.
Because today, those same people, right?
Ask them brothers and sisters right now where those 2 cars.
That's right. That's right.
True. They lost. Matter of fact, I rode around the block the other day, and that family they lost both cars.
There you go. And you know, Willie, we talked about this in 2020 and 21. And I complained about it, but they went down this road anyway. I told you that they're going to borrow $6 trillion to pay for all of that stimulus stuff, all of that enhanced unemployment and, you know, PPP money and all that kind of stuff that they were doing. That money cost $6 trillion that they didn't have. Ooh. They didn't take that out of the Treasury. They had to borrow that money from the future. Remember we said at that time, you don't even know if you're going to earn enough money in the future to pay off that $6 trillion debt, right? And that's the shoe that has to drop. So what happened? Now we end up with a $33 trillion deficit. Or debt, rather. And we have deficits running $1.7 trillion. And now everybody's got their mouths poked out. You know, they don't like all of this. But you didn't say that when they were throwing all this money on the table to keep the consumer economy going and whatnot,
That's right. My man.
Man.
Keep it at 100. That's how you got to look at it. All these clowns, excuse my French. Sorry.
That's all right. We like
all
that.
All these people were getting out. Will, my brother know I'm a hustler. That's what I come from. I knew better not to go and talk about I need some PPP money, and I got 20 of my people to sign and give me their Social Security because I threw them $500. Yep. Now, on top of it, I'm a crook because I got a business I don't own, and guess what? Artists did this. Football players did this. Black folks that have business did this. And
once people figured out that this was a game you could play and it wasn't a whole lot of checking on it, they just took your word. People said, shoot. One lady, she was a singer. She took that PPP money, whatever you call it, PPE money, and she bought an island. She actually bought an island for $17 million, right? And she moved her crib onto the island, and she became the citizen of her island. And she took that PPP money and used that to buy an island for herself, right?
Wow, people was doing some real strange things.
If you're not looking, right? If you're not looking, and you got some money on you somewhere, and you're not looking, trust me, within 4 or 5 minutes, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, somebody got their hand in your pocket, and they lifting that money out of your pocket right now. They're coming to get that money, right? So that's the America that we live in. My point is, do you really want this bandit Donald Trump to be in control of America to keep doing those kind of things? Or do you want a competent administration in office that can begin to turn the ship around and get us moving in the right direction?
Right, in the right direction, yes, sir.
Because one thing you got to say, the country has been stabilized since Joe Biden has been president. All the people dying from not getting vaccinated, that stuff's been fixed. You know, the inflation rate has come way down, you know, so in some places inflation is bad, like on housing. costs and things like that. But in other things, inflation has come, way, way down. Jobs, this dude has put 14 or 15 million new jobs on the table since he came in office in January of 2021. Right. What has Trump did? Trump lost jobs rather than create jobs over the course of his administration. It just seems to me that we got to have our arms around what is in our best interest as a people.
Yeah, you definitely telling the truth. And one thing we are, when they even elected him, the whole onus of most people of color were, he's a billionaire. He must know what he's doing. He robbed from the rich and gave to the rich.
Right.
He didn't care about no poor.
Right. I said that too, Kenny. I kind of said that too. He's a businessman.
But you know what? Daddy Warbucks said the same thing. And he was a crook.
Hey, Will, I like this guy.
Oh, this is Mr. Nathan Hare. No
man,
joke.
I like this guy.
Yeah, you should hear some of the stories, man. You know what? I tend to hang out with people that's kind of like you, Ken. I got Norm in the back. I got the intelligent Mr. Hare, but he was hustler too. Back in the day, we all had to come through. We had to come through, right? We lived on the same mean streets. We all had to come through.
Yeah, man, I love this, man. This is great. This is good. This is good radio right here.
So stick with us. Call in, day to day. Just to check in, okay?
I'm gonna definitely do that. You guys have a great day, a prosperous week, and man, just keep uplifting our people because they need to know they're blind. And they're not educated for politics, and that's the sad part. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. God bless, brother.
All right. God bless. All right.
All right, let's take a quick break and talk to our sponsors. Don't go away. We will see you on the other side of the break here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY. See you in a second.
91.3 FM WBNY is proud to present Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Welcome to Democracy Now!
Award-winning investigative journalism.
Is the NRA imploding?
Providing relevant analysis that makes you think.
Secret State Department documents, including evidence of U.S. war crimes.
Fact-finding reports you will not hear elsewhere. Democracy Now! Airs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on 91.3 FM, WBNY, Buffalo. Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan Hare. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY. All right, welcome back to Living for the People. This is L. Nathan Hare, your host. We're here with Norma Carter, who is the in-studio audience of one. He had to step out for a second. He'll be back in a minute. And we're here with Willie H., who does the live streaming of the program. Welcome back, Willie.
Well, welcome, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan Hare. You guys call in, 716-878-5104. I want to hear what you got to say.
Absolutely. So listen, for many, the run-up to the January 6th insurrection and the entire effort to overturn the election, the 2020 election, was nothing short of a holy war to save America from what they claim was an illegitimate deep state of demonic forces that controls Washington, D.C. No wonder then that new House Speaker Mike Johnson, who is similarly steeped in these Christian nationalist beliefs, says he's all in for Donald Trump in 2024. Amid growing awareness that Trump is unequivocally saying that if he gets a second term, he will rule as a fascist. Remember, the first point we wanted to make was why we should not elect Donald Trump. He says that he's going to use his second term to rule as a fascist. Now, I'm using his words according to the article from Sarah Posner. He talks about the Democrats as vermin. That he's going to attack his perceived enemies, who he mimicked Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler. His aides are promoting an authoritarian blueprint that they have developed to allow him in his second term. This is what Trump says he wants to do, to weaponize the Justice Department and use it against his political adversaries. So what he'll do is what they're doing with Hunter Biden. Every time they find something, that paper right there, I remember Hunter Biden had a paper that looked just like that paper, back in 2019.
Right.
I bet there was a demon that touched that paper. I bet Hunter Biden probably got $5 million for touching that paper. Let's open up an investigation into that piece of paper. That's what they've been doing. They've been investigating Hunter Biden for 5 years in a row. They keep opening up new investigations, claiming that they can't come across something new. Then nothing new shows up. They bring a witness, and the witness winds up testifying for Biden rather than against Biden. And so on, yet they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Well, that's what Trump intends to use the Justice Department for, to use the Justice Department to attack his political adversaries.
Right.
He also says he wants to use his power as the president in 2024 to carry out mass deportations of anybody he feels is in the country illegitimately. Now, you could just know for certain that half the people that Trump claims are in the country illegitimately were actually legitimately in the country.
Right.
But they'll get thrown out too. And his attitude will be, well, you'll have to prove that you shouldn't have been thrown out once you're someplace else. They claim that there's 12 to 14 million illegal or undocumented people walking around the United States right now. Trump is talking about that population of people that they all got to go. We're going to find them and they all got to go. And then the ones who think that they're here legitimately, but maybe they aren't. Maybe they were here on a student visa and they stayed too long. Maybe they came here on a tourist visa, they stayed too long. Maybe they did all the things correctly, but they moved from one address to another address and immigration hasn't caught up to where they now live. So those people wind up, being on Trump's list and so on. There's all kinds of reasons why you could be in the country legitimately, but not show up on the list as a legitimate immigrant to the country.
Right.
But whatever the case, Trump would go so far as if you were born in this country, but you were born to a first-generation immigrant who was not here legally, then the 14th Amendment does not apply to you. And when Trump says that, by definition, what Trump is saying is the only parts of the Constitution that are valid are the parts that I agree with. All the parts of the Constitution that I disagree with, they're not valid, and I'm not going to support them. So when Trump pledged to support the Constitution of the United States when he took his office of the presidency, he lied. He said that he would support the Constitution of the United States and the nation of the United States. He said that he would do that against enemies, foreign and abroad. That's what he promised in front of the entire country, in front of 330 million people. That's what he said. He lied because he's telling you now that if you are born in the United States and your parents were not legally in the United States, you being born in the United States are not a citizen, even though the Constitution says that any person born in any state, parish, district, or territory or dominion of the United States is a citizen of the United States, period. It doesn't qualify. It doesn't say you have to fill out the blue form or the red form. So if you are saying that you're going to invalidate one of the amendments to the Constitution, then you could say I could invalidate some other amendments, like your right to vote. Well, I didn't mean that everybody had the right to vote. I just meant that my white else, they'll lose their right to vote too. That's what's really at play here. We really have to understand what the threat is. We have the threat of a person who has shown you in absolute terms that he will lie, he will cheat, he will steal, he will degrade everything in his environment. he will do that to enlarge himself. That you have that person who tells you day to day that he disrespects the very idea of democracy. He actually tells you that he's going to tear down the institutions of this country and turn them into institutions that favor me. He says that he will arbitrarily fire federal workers and install loyalists in government agencies who will obey his orders without question. You want that person, a person who believes that, who promises you that that's what he's going to do, you want that person to be your president? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We need to suspend your right to vote until you go to some sort of education school, but we don't.
Yeah.
See, the reality is in our version of the United States, you have every right to be ridiculous. You have every right to vote for somebody who is ridiculous, who is saying ridiculous things, who does ridiculous things. You have every right to do that. But we have every right to campaign against people that do stuff like that. Right. And that's what we're talking about today. Go ahead, Norm.
Oh, no, I was just commenting, Mr. Hare. Somebody that does something like that can, implement his own ideas, wants to change democracy. We got to get him out of here. I can't even see entertaining the idea of him even running. It's ludicrous to me.
So the reports indicate that Trump and his allies are screening potential followers and planning to expand his power in the U.S. government. What he intends to do, this is a woman, a historian, her name is Ruth Guyot, and she warns that Trump's actions are reminiscent of authoritarian regimes. She talks about mass deportations, mass detentions. He wants to expand psychiatric institutions to put people that he disagrees with. In other words, if you disagree with Donald Trump, you are either a criminal or you're nuts.
Yeah.
So they're either going to put you in jail or they're going to put you in a mental health institution, right? This is not what people are inferring. These are the things that are coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. She says that is what authoritarians always do. Trump mentioned that with regard to Jack Smith, the special investigator investigating Trump on the January 6th investigation and the government documents that were taken from the White House and transferred to Trump's residence in Mar-a-Lago. Trump says that he's going to lock this person up and declare this person to be an insane investigator. So that's what Trump would do if he had the power of the presidency. She says that communists in the USSR, that's the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, routinely put dissidents in the USSR in psychiatric institutions. The reason why they do that is because there's no term limit, right? You put somebody in a psychiatric institution, they don't get out until you declare them to be well. So something that you might otherwise get a 3-year sentence for, you're going to end up with a life sentence in a mental health institution. Mm. So she says that it's not even just that or just all that. She said it's the method, because autocrats need a compliant bureaucracy to implement their repression quickly. They need a lawless, and this is what she's saying, that people like Donald Trump, they need a compliant bureaucracy. And what she means by that is they need a lawless and corrupt people who are not going to have pangs of conscience for implementing the things that Donald Trump is going to ask them to do. So when I'm talking about that, remember I gave you the example of the Republicans that controlled the Board of Elections in Coffee County, Georgia? And because the Republicans claimed that the machines were invented by Dominion voting machines, that they were fixed so that they would flip votes from Joe Biden from Donald Trump to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So they wanted to do a forensic analysis of those machines. Now, it's illegal for you to let anybody tamper with those machines. These Republicans in Coffee County, responding to the state Republican Party and Donald Trump, they gave 5 of the voting machines to this company called Cyber Ninjas and let them do a forensic analysis on the machines to see whether or not they were designed to flip votes. Of course, they found that the machines weren't designed to do that there was nothing wrong with the machines. But how could you trust any votes taken on those machines ever again when they had these machines for like 2 or 3 months, to play with them? That's illegal. They should have all gone to prison. But the Republican Party appointed those people in the Coffee County Board of Elections, and those people were willing to break the law and to allow these machines to be transferred to this private company, Cyber Ninjas. Now, I would hope that in Erie County, if you came to somebody in Erie County as a Democrat and you said, I need to look at those 4 or 5 machines right there, let me get those machines, that they would tell you that if you don't get away from me, I'm going to have you locked up. I'm going to call the police and accuse you of grand larceny. That's what I would hope that people, and I would hope that the Republicans would do the same thing as the Democrats, that this is the ideology, the belief system of people that work in the Board of Elections, that's how they feel about the integrity of the elections. But that's not how these people in Coffee County felt. Those are the kind of people that gave those voting machines away that Donald Trump wants to get appointed into civil service offices, because those people will do what Donald Trump wants. And then we'll end up in the same kind of situation that you saw take place in Italy, that you saw take place in Hungary, you see taking place in Germany. It's going to be the same kind of thing would take place in the United States. So when Democrats, young voters, and minority voters turn against Biden, who do they intend to turn to? Would you turn to Donald Trump? You think that Donald Trump would be a better alternative than Joe Biden? Just under 1 year before the presidential election, Democrats should be concerned but not panicked about President Biden's standing in these polls. As last week's results demonstrated, abortion remains the most potent issue. 2 weeks ago, abortion remains the most potent issue with which to defeat the Republicans. If Donald Trump is the GOP nominee, his return to the spotlight and potential felony convictions will ensure that Biden is compared to the alternative, not to the almighty. Because people are trying to compare Biden to the most perfect, ideal entity to be the president.
Right.
They're not holding Donald Trump to that standard.
Right.
Why would you hold Joe Biden to that standard?
Definitely not holding him
right?
to that
so
standard.
For Biden to win the election, he must make some changes on personnel, on presentation, and strategy to improve his prospects. Biden's age is the main cause for concern. What I think that people have to be saying is it's not the issue of Biden's age. Biden is going to bring a team of people, including Kamala Harris, that are going to be they're the people that actually run the administration.
Right.
That's who you are electing when you elect Joe Biden.
When I see Biden up there, he's slow. He's it seems like he calculated.
He plods, right?
Right. He got information from his counselors, and that's what I'm more concerned with. I could tell that he's got information. Even when he says stuff, you could tell somebody said, "Well, Mr. Biden, don't say that. Say it like this way. Don't do it." And he'll correct that. But I like that because I know he's listening to other people who will give him sound reasoning, and I like that.
Exactly. He's gonna literally work with his team.
Right.
He's not going to run off on his own and do something, strange and whatnot.
Right.
Everything Trump does is strange. Right. The reason why we got cut out of the deal in the Pacific trade agreements between Vietnam and Korea and China and so on, we got cut out of that deal because Donald Trump didn't like it. He didn't like it because Barack Obama had put the deal together, something called the Trans-Pacific trade agreement.
Wow.
And so because he didn't like the fact that Obama did it, he killed the deal. Wow. And so when he killed the deal, China wasn't in the deal. They weren't in the driver's seat. The United States was in the driver's seat. Because of Donald Trump, that deal was killed. Then the Vietnamese and the Koreans and the Indonesian, Malaysian people, the Australians, they all got together and did another deal, and they brought China into the new deal. So now China is the big dog in the new deal,
right?
And the United States is on the outside looking in.
Right. Could you imagine? I mean, you used that example of Obama did something, set up something nice, but because we don't want that person of color to get credit, we're going to just eliminate it, ignore it. But could you imagine how many times that happens in America with just businesses and policies? Because that person of color, we don't really agree with him. Even it's a great idea, but we don't want him to get credit.
I mean,
so we probably suffer a lot.
Right. The Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement involved 41% of the world's economy.
Right.
41%.
Right.
Instead of being in a position where we could get the lion's share of that economy to come to the United States, we wind up giving that up, and that lion's share is going to China.
Right.
What in the world would make you so stupid to do something like that?
And that's probably one of the reasons we owe so much to China,
there
right? We owe
go.
a lot of money to China.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So, moreover, on this, Biden would agree that this election will be exceptional because of the threat that Trump poses. The exiled President Trump is an exiled strongman who's taken over a traditional political party and is attempting to reclaim the office of the presidency to consolidate power and punish his enemies with little regard for the Constitution, with the increasingly likely possibility that this will be a multi-candidate election and Biden at risk of being denied the nose-holding votes he needs from the independents and pre-Trump Republicans. The president's margin for error is almost nothing. If Biden thinks the country is on the line, he needs to act like it.
Yeah.
So, absent a health issue or some other act of God, Biden is not going to bow out of this race. He's not going to dump Kamala Harris. So, if Democrats, or he says, if Democrats need to accept a replay of Biden-Harris, the White House must come to terms with the need to make changes. The president must make clear that he's willing to increase his focus on Trump, but he also did little to hide his frustration that voters don't grasp his accomplishments and press his advisors to do more to convey his record. This is the issue that we've been talking about. The media, they, instead of focusing on every little tiny thing that Trump or that Biden does or doesn't do, they focus on that. You know, I was just thinking of an example of something that Biden. Remember the Charlottesville incident? You know, where one of these Trump, they shall not replace his people, drove her car into a crowd and killed a woman. So Biden talked about that incident, provoked him and motivated him to make his first run for the presidency. 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
So he hasn't been back to Charlottesville since. So the media is busy today harping on the fact that that Biden has not gone back to Charlottesville, since that incident occurred, even though he said that was a motivational reason for why he ran for the presidency. So that comes across as a dig against Biden.
Well, that's what I noticed, Mr. Hare, is a bunch of when I hear the media, and even if they do, let me just say this, even if they do give a good self-portrait of Biden, the media will still edit it in a way, because I remember seeing the conference, and Biden was okay, a little slow, but they took all the slow pieces that he seemed like he was a little off. They put those all together. So when you see it now running over and over again, that's what you do. You see a slow president. Mm-hmm. They don't show any effectiveness that he had. Yep. And then you got to remember, who owns the media? So when they push an agenda, somebody ahead gives the okay, that person is led by somebody else who owns the media, who wants a certain outcome.
Right.
So that's what we get.
And that's exactly what we get. So, everything that they say, it puts a little tint on it. Yeah. Right? Now, Biden's been busy, and they even say that. Well, Biden has been busy. We had the pandemic, going on. Biden wasn't president when Charlottesville occurred, so he wasn't responsible to go there at that time. Mm-hmm. Right? But since he's been president, we had the vaccine rollout trying to get done. We had inflation was going crazy. We had all these people that were unemployed.
He did a good job.
We had lots of things. People that couldn't pay their rent, couldn't pay their mortgages, and so on.
He did a good job.
Right? I mean, we were in real trouble.
Right.
Biden actually reversed all of those things. We're not in that kind of trouble at all anymore.
Right. Even when I look at myself, I'm in a much better position than I was before. I'm healthy. I see a lot of other people around me healthy. I see people. It seems like people are getting jobs now. People got a way of making money. I mean, it's still rough in some places, but for overall, I see.
And the reality, there's never been a period of any year, any time in the history of the United States when it wasn't rough for somebody.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
always, there's
the
no.
poor will be with you all. The Bible tells you that.
This is not
The poor will
utopia,
always be with
right?
you, always,
This is not utopia. They're not handing down, your quality of life from heaven. You gotta work hard for
Right, you
it.
gotta pursue
and
it.
some people are going to win, and some people aren't going to win.
Right.
But you just got to keep working hard for it. Right. So the article that I was reading from also talks about Biden should be doing more to secure the support of people like Liz Cheney. Now, Liz Cheney is not a Democrat. She's a hardcore Republican. She's still a hardcore Republican, even though she can't stand Donald Trump. What you should focus on is not Liz Cheney's policies.
Hey, Mr. Head. What does she like about Trump?
She thinks that Trump is the most dishonest, most reprehensible person that has ever walked
But
the
I
earth.
think the nation knows that and believes that also. So what's the deal?
This is just what the supporters of Biden are saying, that they need to be harping on that. And not that Biden should be harping on it. Get surrogates to harp on it.
Right.
So since Liz Cheney can't stand him, Kunstler, whatever his name was, the other guy, Republican that went on the January 6th investigation committee, Adam Kinzinger, since they don't like Donald Trump, let them push the message for that Donald Trump is a scurrilous, rotten type person and whatnot, right? You don't have to do that, but you need to have surrogates doing it for you so that they're repeating that message out there over and over and over again. You need to, with Joe Manchin, now this is going to sound ugly and self-serving, but Joe Manchin is a punk. He's using the fact that there's such a narrow margin of Democrats over Republicans in the House or the Senate that if he withholds his vote, you have a very hard time getting something even voted on in the Senate. So he has power, that way.
Right.
But instead of using his power to elevate the Democratic Party or the Democratic administration's goals, he's using that power to elevate his own goals.
Hold up. Manchin, Democrat? He's a Democrat?
Manchin is a Democrat.
Well, it always feels like he's a Republican.
He votes like a Republican.
Yeah, it always feels like he's a Republican.
Well, see, he's from West Virginia. He's from coal mining country.
Right.
So these are people that they don't believe in global warming. They don't believe in climate change. They don't believe in renewable energies, because that's not where their money is. They make their money in fossil fuels. So when you're out here campaigning to have clean energy, you're campaigning against the interest of the people in West Virginia who make their money on coal.
Right, and he'd probably get a kickback also.
He has his own business.
Oh, okay.
A coal mining business.
Makes profits.
Right.
Okay.
So he earned 2 years ago. He earned $5 million from his business that's based on the coal industry in West Virginia. Yeah. So this should be illegal. You shouldn't even be allowed to be a senator if you're using your vote to elevate your own self-interest. You should just be a private citizen.
Well, that's a good example. Once again, that's a good example of somebody in a power position that's going to make sure they get what they want. They're going to make sure of the outcome.
Right.
Here's the outcome. And
remember, West Virginia is a low-population state. There's probably only 3 million people live in West Virginia. So if you have, say 20 or 30 or 40,000 people that work in one industry, that's a big deal in West Virginia.
Right.
So that's what Joe Manchin has been doing, is he's been using his vote to get favor from the Republicans and to injure the interests of Democrats in order to favor the voters in his district. But they're not voting on what's in the best interest of the United States. They're voting on what's in the best interest of their wallets. in West Virginia.
Right.
And so, but that's the reality. So what the pundits are saying is, or the political advisors to Biden are saying, is you need to find a way to make Joe Manchin feel cool without doing too much, to promote his goals of continuing to build the fossil fuel industry. You should find some way to make him feel comfortable.
Right.
Because if you make him feel comfortable, he'll do things that are in the interest of the Democratic Party, which will actually help you as Joe Biden, the Democratic nominee for the presidency.
Right.
So there's a whole boatload of things like that they've been talking about. You got to expand the inner circle. You need to bring people like Jennifer O'Malley, who left the White House earlier on, to get her to come back and manage. She managed the first campaign for Biden in 2016. You also want to get people like Ron Klein, who's a former chief of staff. Bring him back, to help run the campaign or help run the White House as the chief of staff. There's a lot of things that Biden needs to be doing. So he's elevating all of his positives, and he's, not putting any emphasis at all on his negatives. Let other people talk about his negatives. You need to talk about your positives over and over again. And put positive people out there who are out here doing commercials, that are doing attack ads, that are doing, events. That's what you do to try to elevate, Joe Biden, so that Joe Biden becomes what you hear. Because right now, all you hear is Trump, Trump, Trump. Well, even if it's negative, it's still Trump, Trump, Trump.
Absolutely.
What you need is to hear a drumbeat of Biden, Biden, Biden.
Right.
And that's really where the world's going to win.
And that's the way it works. I'm sorry. That's the way it works.
So I hear that music playing, so let us do our job. This was Monday. We got a long week in front of us, but thank you all for listening to us and supporting us. We look forward to talking to you all on Wednesday here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM, WBNY. See you all there. Welcome back, Norm.
Thank you, Mr. Hare.
All right.